Welcome into On Texas Football. Time for the breakdown, brought to you by our friends at Bingham's Bourbon. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Rod Babers and CJ Vogel of On Texas Football. Guys, we're getting ready to go over the Texas A&M game. We'll break down here the Texas offense versus the Aggie defense, the firepower-laden Texas A&M offense against the Texas defense that's been struggling of late. Then also talk about special teams, as well as give our score predictions. Rod B., let's start with you, former Longhorn, former NFL player. This Texas offense looks like it's getting its legs, maybe just at the right time against the Aggies here. What are you thinking about this game and how it breaks down for the Longhorns?
Yeah, I think for the Longhorns, we should be optimistic because you get Arch Manning playing some of his best football. He's probably as confident as he's ever been as a player, and you're going to need it because your path to win is a narrow one, and you need Arch to put the cape on several times, if not the entire game, to be able to do it. There are matchups Texas can win on the outside, but this is a Texas A&M defense that can hang their hat on several elite traits. They're the best third down defense in the country, all right? And they wreak a lot of havoc. They cause a lot of havoc in terms of sacks and tackles for loss. They're top 3 in the country. Texas did face another defense that was also very similar in terms of being top 5 in the country, wreaking havoc in sacks and tackles for loss, and they were top 10 third down defense. That was the Oklahoma defense, and Texas was great against Oklahoma, especially on third down. That's when we saw Arch put the cape on versus Oklahoma, and because they were able to put together a competent run game, at least versus Oklahoma, it balanced out the offense, and you pulled out an upset over a rival. That's kind of going to be the game plan here offensively in Texas. I think one of the keys is going to be explosive plays. I went and looked at the explosive plays that the Aggie defense has given up, especially in the passing game. They've given up 32 explosive pass plays so far this season. Guys, half of those came in the 4 games that were decided by one score. With the Aggies. So you're talking about that Notre Dame game, the Auburn game, that South Carolina game that's thrown in there, and then the Arkansas game, that shootout. So one of the keys to, can't say keys to beating the Aggies because they're unbeaten. But one of the keys to even keeping it close against this Aggie defense is explosive plays, because I think it keeps you out of those third downs where they can really put together those exotic pressure packages, and Cassius Howell and the crew can really go off and pin their ears back. So I think for Texas, you want to stay out of third and long situation, and nothing wrong with third down, third and long situations where you're so predictable. There's no question about it. You got to lead with the pass, just like you did versus Oklahoma. Let the run game be complementary to the pass, and you have to generate explosive plays on offense. That's going to be the key here. But I do think you can do that. This Aggie defense, they face some good offense. Notre Dame offense is a really good one. The Arkansas offense, one of the best in the country, generating explosive plays. Even the offense that they ended up facing early on in that game versus Notre Dame, they were able to get some plays over the top, some deep shots over the top. I think that's going to be the key for Texas. Can they do that?
Yeah, Texas has to find a way to put points on the board in this game. I think that's Rod, when you talk about narrow path to victory, it doesn't come with Texas scoring 17 points. They have to put some real points on the board. What do you think of this one, CJ, from a Texas offense, A&M defense perspective?
Yeah, you mentioned 17 points. That's all Texas scored a year ago. They moved the ball tremendously well, and I know that coming out of that game, a lot of folks, myself included, were saying, well, Texas probably should have had about 31, right? You get to the end, or you get to the red zone and the 5-10 yard line, 2 interceptions. You probably should have scored much more. So that gives me confidence in Steve Sarkisian in this game. Now, A&M's defense has better players. I think they're more collectively sound than what Texas saw in College Station a year ago, but this offensive unit has also played very well at DKR this year, right? Vanderbilt and Arkansas. I know Arkansas is not a great team, but only 3 tackles for loss in those 2 games combined. Compare that to just about any other 2-game stretch that Texas has played at any point this season, light years better than what we've seen this offense to be, especially up front. Now, you mentioned the Notre Dame game as well, Rod. I bet if Notre Dame comes back and plays A&M at any point again moving forward, they run the ball about 50 times. You can run the football on Texas A&M. The issue is, I don't know if Texas can run the football on anybody. So that's kind of the big issue. They're 94th right now in the country in runs of 20-plus yards allowed this year. Texas, again, dead last in SEC in rushing yards in conference play at only about 75. So, look, I don't know if that's going to benefit you, but if this game goes the way of the Texas Longhorns, it's going to have to be Arch Manning's best performance of the year. And that's saying something after a career-high passing yards and 6 total touchdowns. I will say this, over the last 4 games, we've seen the best version of Arch Manning. 1,300 passing yards, 65% completion. That's about 330 passing yards per game. 14 total touchdowns, only the one turnover. He's playing his best version of football in 2025. And Rod, he's going to need multiple capes if this is going to be a game, in my opinion, Texas comes away winning.
Wow. He's going to need multiple. Both of you guys see the Aggies as a very difficult opponent. I think it's obviously because the other side of the ball for A&M. We'll talk about them next. But before we do, Texas going to score in the 20s here, the 30s. What are y'all, teens? I mean, if you're thinking that direction, because I'm kind of thinking 20s/30s right now in my prediction. Does that sound about right to you, Rod?
Yeah, I'm thinking low 30s, somewhere around there. I will say this about the Aggie defense. You know, one of the things, they don't have a lot of vulnerabilities because they're really well rounded. But in the red zone, they haven't been great in the red zone defense. If you can get there, they're about 130, I think, in red zone defense, 65th in touchdown percentage allowed in the red zone. So that's an area that if Texas does get there, we know Texas has been more effective in the red zone with Arch and his legs. So that could be something that Texas could take advantage of too. But yeah, the biggest concern is the offensive line. It's been much better in pass protection since you made the adjustments with Cole Hudson and Connor Robinson on that offensive line. But you're still, I believe, overall about 115th in overall pressure rate allowed. And the Aggies, they're one of the national leaders, if not the leader, I believe, in sack rate. And I think if you look at pressure rate, they're at 39% pressure rate, which is also top 10 mark in the country. So they got that. That will tell the story. Once again, it'll be the O-line. How does the O-line hold up against one of the best defensive fronts in the country?
You mentioned red zone. Is Texas better? Texas offense better in the red zone this year, guys, than a year ago? Because we forecasted that it would be, because we thought the offensive line would be more heavy duty. That hasn't really panned out. But we did think Arch's legs and ability to throw into tight windows would help it. Has it been better in y'all's estimation this year compared to a year ago?
Yes and no, right? Because I think the same philosophy of just pounding ground it, getting into the end zone is what Sark wants to do. He's just gone about it a different way, and that's been a lot more of Arch Manning's legs. Look, they've had success. Arch scrambles even in some for red zone. We've seen more creativity, I think, in the red area, especially the tight red, right? The Philly special, something I don't think we've ever seen at Texas. And on top of that, I think those quick slants, just let your guys win on the outside. That's something that I called for a little bit more last year when you had the fastest wide receiver in the country and another guy that ran in the low 4.3s. And it made sense to think that quick speed and get off the line would suit best for a tight red area. But for Arch Manning, and I think this is where the quarterbacks come into play, the ability to get that ball in quickly and with velocity is something that allows Texas to execute a little bit better with in the red area as well.
Yeah, I think they've been better this year. In retrospect, as we break it down, it hasn't been a bugaboo, right? Like the last couple of years, it's been they kick way too many field goals. I mean, Mason Shipley doesn't have 34 attempts on the season like Bert Auburn did a couple of years ago, right?
Right.
That's kind of a telltale sign. Maybe they're not moving it as well or as consistently between the 20s, at least early in the season, though. That's fair. All right, before we go to the Aggie defense, the Aggie offense, which clearly you two guys are worried about, let's tell folks about our friend and our partner that sponsors our breakdown every week, and that is Ryan Bingham and Bingham's Bourbon.
All right, thank you, Bobby, and thanks to our friends over at Bingham's Bourbon. This episode of On Texas Football brought to you by Bingham's Bourbon, created by Grammy and Oscar-winning artist Ryan Bingham. And for years, Ryan turned down offers to just put his name on a bottle. No, instead, he insisted he wanted a bourbon he could be proud of, one that stayed true to his Texas roots and where the music comes from. That's why he built Bingham's from the ground up, a Texas-certified whiskey made with 100% Texas grown grains distilled and aged in the searing Texas climate for a bold, unmistakable flavor. From the hands of local Texas farmers to the barrel to the glass, every drop is a tribute to the land, the craft, and the people who shape it. Bingham's bourbon, proof that Texas makes a damn good bourbon. Available now across the great state of Texas. Find details at binghamspirits.com. That's binghamspirits.com. And thank you very much to Ryan Bingham and Bingham Spirits for sponsoring On Texas Football.
Welcome to Ryan, and thank you for your sponsorship. Hey, CJ, I want you to start us off, if you don't mind, bud. The Aggie offense has been a revelation for them. Marcel Reed playing at a very high level. Some people even have him in the Heisman talk. Casey Concepcion at receiver, Mario Craver, Bethel Roman, another receiver that's playing well. They've got 2 tight ends. They've got a pair of running backs. One's healthy that we know of for sure right now, and Reuben Owens. And they've got a strong offensive line. Is this the best offense Texas will have faced this year, given that Ohio State early in the season was playing with a really young quarterback? Do you think this is the biggest test for the Longhorns?
I think it's the most explosive offense Texas will face this year. Is it the best? No, I think that resides in Athens, Georgia, with the way that they just click. They just methodically go down the field. This has a little bit more home run ability with those 2 really the 3 wide receivers. You have 52 receptions for Concepcion, 47 for Craver. No one else has over 20, but that doesn't mean you can't worry about Ashton Bethel Roman. He's averaging right now 25 yards per reception. So that's a big play waiting to happen. It goes back to that explosivity. But no, the duo at the front, right? The guys that get all the headlines, Craver and Concepcion, it's the most dynamic wide receiving duo that Texas will have faced this year, aside from, to your point, Bobby, the Ohio State, Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith, who really didn't get a full crack at, the air, the passing game there. So I think Marcel Reed's taken steps as a passer. He's still not an elite passer, right? And I think that's where you sit back and try to beat Texas A&M is, hey, run lanes, scramble lanes have to be sound. Man coverage is dangerous because of those wide receivers. And also, if you turn your backs on Marcel Reed, look, he's got the escapability to beat you there as well. The one area that you mentioned, the offensive line, very, very, very talented for Texas A&M. The one area for Texas that you have to be very aware of is the play action game. And Marcel Reed might be the best play action quarterback Texas has played this entire season. Here are a couple of the numbers here. 16 touchdowns, 1 interception on 74% completion, 11.2 yards per attempt. And just straight dropbacks, only 9 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 55% completion, about a 20% decrease in completion percentage in straight dropbacks, and about 4 yards shorter in yards per attempt. Look, he's a different quarterback when he doesn't have the ability to move the pocket, when he has to read a defense, when he doesn't have the luxury of someone in the flats. And I go back to that Missouri game, and this is kind of where my take on Marcel Reed comes from. I don't think he's necessarily the engine that runs that offense. I think he's a great distributor to the guys that ultimately make the hay, and that's Craver and Concepcion. Against Missouri, they put up how many points, right? It was about 35, 40. They only completed 3 passes beyond 10 yards down the field. Everything was short. Everything allowed those wide receivers to make play after the catch. That's what Texas is up against. And based off of what we've seen and kind of their inability to consistency play man coverage, boy, I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried. I'll tell you that.
Okay. Rod, you're a secondary guy. What are you thinking here? What do you see here that worries you?
No, a lot of what CJ brought up were especially those play action numbers, because you're talking about a second level of the defense, which has been hurting, of course, last week without Anthony Hill. Obviously still waiting on his status. And then Anthony Smith won't be available for the first half. As play action is meant to attack the second and third levels, Texas has struggled in coverage at the second and the third level, especially the linebacker in the safety position recently. So that's troubling, because I can see them, Texas, having to try to make this team one-dimensional, and then them being able to hit Texas with some easy throws over the middle behind the linebackers in front of the safeties. Something else that concerns me is just really how many threats, CJ brought up a few, how many threats you have to account for on this Aggie offense. Honestly, Bobby, you've been around longer than me. I can't remember an Aggie offense this stacked with skill talent.
I can't either. No, and I thought about this earlier this week. Rod. I can't. They've had good running backs at times. They've had good quarterbacks at times.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
maybe Manziel and
Mike Evans.
Evans combined, but they didn't necessarily have
all these guys.
Yeah, they had pieces. This is more well-rounded, and I will say this: it's the most speed I've seen an A&M offense have in a long, long time. Maybe in forever. They have, to y'all's point, they can beat you in a number of different ways with their speed.
Yeah. So that worries me because Texas, I think can match up in certain areas, but they're so well rounded that you can't take away everything at one time. You're not good enough, frankly. I mean, Texas defense is good, but they ain't that good. All right. So PK is going to be really, really meticulous and dialed in about, all right, what am I going to take away on this down in this situation, and where am I going to leave myself vulnerable? And those places where you allocate resources to take something away, you got to be effective. But where you leave yourself vulnerable, say, hey, you know what, we're gonna play man on this down, and we got to leave our young DBs out there because we got 2 freshmen starting, so we're going to leave them out there on a little bit of an island with maybe the best wide receiving core in the NFL. In college football, other than Ohio State. And that's why I say NFL, because they remind me they're both playing in the NFL. So when you do that, those guys got to win. When you do have a vulnerability on defense, and the Aggies ended up having called the perfect play call to attack that weakness, you're gonna have to have guys just win at the point of attack, because at this point, like I said, you can't defend everything, and there are going to be some times where you're left exposed in the run game, or with the scrambling quarterback who can scramble, or the quarterback run game, or the receivers on the outside. What are you going to take away? I say you do got to take away Concepcion and Craver, especially if Le'Veon Moss isn't playing. I got to start with those guys, because those guys scare the what out of me. I mean, Concepcion's the guy, right? We know he's the dude. Got 9 touchdowns. I mean, he's a beast. He's got 50, almost 60% contested catch rate. But Craver, dude, he's averaging 12 yards a target and over 10 yards after the catch per reception. They're 3rd in the country in yards after the catch as a team. So this is a very different Aggie offense than the one Texas used to defending. And that worries me a little bit as a Texas fan, is that when does Texas get caught where they're exposed against this group? And like you said, they got so much skill talent. Those can be big chunk yardage plays, because this is like talent. This ain't Arkansas. This ain't Kentucky. This ain't Mississippi State. These Aggies, they can go.
Hey, the question though, a lot of people saw the South Carolina game for A&M, right? Mm-hmm. And Dylan Stewart and that South Carolina pass rush got home in the first half, caused a lot of problems for Marcel Reed, in my opinion, right? Is that something that Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill and those guys, Ethan Burke, those guys might be able to do to kind of slow this whole thing down and keep them in front of them? I mean, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I actually had a note during that game on OTF. I was like, South Carolina's kind of giving you the blueprint, Texas. You got an elite pass rusher. You got some weapons up front. The one thing for me that Texas really needs to be able to do is to generate pressure from the interior. I mentioned it. Look, Marcel Reed's not a great quarterback when he has to survey the field. And what makes life very difficult for a quarterback when surveying the field is pressure immediately in your face, right? It's one thing to evade a guy coming off the edge where you can step up and find a hole and scamper through. But this has to be a big day for a Rod Watson, a Alex January, a Hero Canoe, finding ways to impact the quarterback face on. And that's what I thought South Carolina did a great job early on. And then the adjustments came for Texas A&M. Say, hey, let's move the pocket a little bit, right? Let's get Marcel Reed out of that designated pass rushing lane and allow him to be the quarterback that he is, or at least that he's grown into this year. So that's the big key for me, Bobby. Pressure up the gut.
Yeah, and I think what South Carolina also did was took away the quick, easy throws you were talking about early on for him, CJ. You want him to go through progressions and stay in the pocket. Got to take away the easy stuff so he can't get rid of the football. And then when he does struggle getting past the first read, that's when Texas can really get home and cause some of those havoc plays. So that's another thing, too. Will Texas do that? They played more man coverage last week versus Arkansas, but that's Arkansas. That's a different beast altogether. They played more press as well, too. Will you see that as a tendency breaker versus A&M against these elite receivers? How much faith do they have in a young Cade Phillips to do that? We'll see.
Ooh, those guys are awfully quick. I mean, I know Cade Phillips is very talented, but Concepcion and Craver are quick. You try to press them and miss. I mean, he may be hitting his head on the field goal on the goalpost. Yeah. Hey, thought process. We mentioned Concepcion as a return man. Special teams for Texas versus A&M. Texas probably has the better field goal kicker, at least this year. Mason Shipley, much more accurate than Randy Bond. But as punt returners go, Concepcion and Niblett may be two of the best in the entire country, guys. They've been phenomenal this year. What are y'all's thoughts? Is that last year? I just remember Texas getting that punt blocked, and then A&M going down and Ethan Burke making the stop on 4th and 1 inside on the goal line. Is this something that y'all are worried about in this game? They seem to have the number of Texas last year, and Texas special teams wasn't exactly stellar in Georgia. I mean, what are y'all's thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's worrisome. I was actually surprised to see Texas go for a block last week, maybe just to show something on tape. But in a game like this where yards are probably going to be aplenty, I would be surprised if you risk the idea of roughing a punter, running into the punter, allowing extra drives to happen for opposing offenses. You mentioned Casey Concepcion, Terry Bussey in the kickoff game, just as dangerous. He's a top 10 return man in the kickoff unit as well. I know Texas has done very good has been great this year at negating kickoff opportunities, right? Kind of I don't want to call it a pooch, but very specifically designed corner kicks to allow their speed to get down there. They do a great job at that. But to your point, Bob, something's going to have to give here. And A&M's got two great weapons in their return game on both sides there that Texas has to be very sound with.
Got it. All right. All right. Now let's get to the good part. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this thing. Predictions. CJ, I'm going to let you go first. What are you thinking in this game for the Longhorns versus the Aggies?
Yeah, I don't like this prediction, and it just feels like it has to go this way based off of the inconsistencies that we've seen with this team. I feel like I'm left really without a choice, but on the same time, I recognize Texas is the hungrier team. You know, A&M's not fighting for anything, right? They're locked into the playoff. You know, if they want to place in the ACC championship game, that's great. If not, hey, we'll see you round one of the playoff. They know where they're headed. Texas does not. So Texas should be the hungrier team. They should be the team much more dangerous in this game. The problem is I still just don't know if I can trust this team, and for that reason, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I have 38-31 Texas A&M. Ooh. Huh?
Hurt me. Yeah. CJ, Rod B, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, CJ's right about that. And the Aggies they've proven this year to be a better team and more consistent product. But man, I just have a hard time believing the Aggies are going to go undefeated. I really do. It's just tough to go undefeated these days, period. It really is. I think Texas is the more battle-tested team because I think they have been more battle-tested. That doesn't mean that's going to help them in this matchup, but I think it will. I think Arch has got to win the quarterback battle. He's got to be – when we're done watching this game, we got to say, oh, man, Arch was the better quarterback if Texas has a chance to win. And Sark's, we got to say Sark out-coached Elko because you don't have many advantages. Let's be honest here. That may be two places where you can win the battle in matchups is quarterback and head coach. And honestly, that may be all you need if they are good enough. So I'm going to take Texas and Aggies. I'm not disrespecting because I know how good you are, all right? This pick does not make sense, but rivalry games rarely make sense. They're weird, strange. There's some voodoo going on. I still don't know how Texas beat Oklahoma. I really don't. It happened. All right. And I think Texas is going to pull it out. I think it's hard to go undefeated. And this is why you got to go on the road to play a battle-tested Texas that's desperate and is hungry. And I think Sark's going to empty the bag. Every time I say that, he doesn't. So I have a holdout faith. He's going to empty the bag. They beat the Aggies. I don't know why I'm so optimistic. Blame Coach Shipley because he started me out doing this. I'm going to pick the Longhorns in this one, man.
What do you got? What are you thinking score-wise?
We're going 34-27 Texas.
Wow. So, I'm really similar to you guys. I worry about A&M and their offensive firepower. I think they can score quickly. That may be their best trait, actually, not being methodical and just throwing caution to the wind and really just chunking the ball around. Because what they did, I got to say this, what they did against South Carolina in the second half was extraordinarily impressive to me.
It was.
But at the same time, I think Texas has a little bit more talent overall on defense than South Carolina. They have a few more pass rushers. I think you have to account for. I still think it's going to be a relatively high scoring game. Probably went a little low, but I went Texas 31, A&M 28. So I agree with Rod that this element of it being a rivalry game matters. It being the first game at DKR between these two teams in 15 years matters. We'll see where it comes out, but I'm going Texas 31-28. CJ, you're the odd man out, so bad luck for you, man. That means you're definitely wrong, and Texas is going to win.
Yeah. Hey, I'm a loser either way.
Yes, I get it. Hey, Rod, tell folks about Bingham's Bourbon before we let them go here today.
All right, glad to. This episode of On Texas Football brought to you by our good friends over at Bingham's Bourbon. Bingham's Bourbon, created by Grammy and Oscar-winning artist Ryan Bingham. For years, Ryan turned down offers to just put his name on a bottle. Instead, he insisted that he wanted a bourbon he could be proud of, one that stayed true to his Texas roots and where the music comes from. That's why he built Bingham's from the ground up, a Texas-certified whiskey made with 100% Texas-grown grains, distilled and aged in the searing Texas climate for a bold, unmistakable flavor. From the hands of local Texas farmers to the barrel to the glass, every drop is a tribute to the land, the craft, and the people who shape it. Bingham's Bourbon, proof that Texas makes a damn good bourbon, available now across the great state of Texas. And you can find details at binghamspirits.com. That's binghamspirits.com.
All right, guys, we'll be back later today with a special update and as well as a special episode of the live stream tonight. I hope everybody can join us as well. Also, hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving Day tomorrow. Enjoy your turkey. Get ready for the football game on Friday. We will have coffee and football tomorrow morning, by the way, so make sure you check us out there too. For CJ Vogel, for Rod Babers, I'm Bobby Burton. Thanks also to our producer, Matt Hutchison. You guys have a good day. Hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em.